All right, I'm gonna give her that spot.
We got tons of time.
Oh, Winnie, you can fit back here too.
No, I'm gonna come here. I need
Okay.
her to be there to speak.
Okay.
I'm gonna come more to the side.
Okay.
So we need another one of these.
Oh, okay. I need you like you're upside down. I've done that so many times. Yeah, you need the different angles. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we love Robin.
Can you see all of us?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to take a few. Beautiful.
Thank you, Heen.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you. I finally meet you in person.
Hello. I know, we always on Zoom, right? More photos?
No, I think we're gonna get started if everyone's ready. Okay.
I gotta put this over.
So, hello everyone. My name is Jana Ossoff, and I'm the Free Her Vermont campaign director for the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. Thank you for joining us this morning to powerfully deliver our public health sign-on letter opposing the construction of a $97 million women's prison in Vermont. We've collaborated on this initiative with the Health Instead of Punishment team at Human Impact Partners to advocate for healthier, community-centered solutions over carceral settings. We have accomplished gathering over 300 signatures from individuals and the support of over 30 organizations to show our deep opposition to the prison project. Today, you will hear from a wide range of experts with lived experience, public health and healthcare workers, organizations like Human Impact Partners, Mad Freedom Advocates, Vermont Workers Center, Vermont Just Justice, to detail the public health implications of incarceration and the importance of centering strategies that decrease our reliance on the inherently traumatic prison system. Our time will conclude with a Q&A in which community members and the media can ask us questions, and that's how our day will go. So if you are not able to stay for the entire press conference, please feel free to grab one of our packets included on the table. They have really important information and data, including a copy of the letter with its signatories and information around Bill H456, sponsored by Representative Brian Chena, which would suspend the construction of new prisons and divert funds to invest in social and housing infrastructure. So this prison project raises significant concerns around public health. It skews economic priorities while our state navigates multiple crises and creates a bleak vision of the future of public safety approaches for Vermont. And for those that are not familiar with Free Her Vermont, we are a grassroots campaign of the National Council, and we are committed to ending the incarceration of women, girls, trans, and non-binary people. We advocate and help to build a robust continuum of community-based care to save our people from becoming entangled in the prison system. We advocate for investment in solutions like supportive housing, mental health and substance use treatment, family therapy, and other life-affirming services, and for the overall investment in community-based alternatives to incarceration that prioritize care, recovery, and accountability over punishment and isolation. This proposed prison construction represents a significant misstep, diverting much-needed resources away from solutions in community like Pathways Vermont, Jenna's Promise, community justice centers, turning points, and more that are already seeing slashing cuts on the state and federal level. These solutions address the root causes of incarceration, such as education, histories of abuse, substance use disorders, and is much more effective and cheaper than building new prisons. CRCF's crumbling infrastructure. CRCF is the women's prison, Chittenden Regional Correctional Facility, and because of its crumbling infrastructure, a lot of advocates believe we do need a new prison, yet the women who are confined to CRCF and answered a recent survey from us say that the cultural environment of the prison is their main concern. And this harm is inherent in any prison, no matter how new. And this idea of compassionate incarceration, which we're seeing with this idea of a trauma-informed prison, is not only a growing narrative here in Vermont, but across the country, and attempts to repackage incarceration as care while taking money away from vital community-based services. This is particularly problematic when the prisons fail to deliver on those promises, as is Vermont's records in other states across the United States. So women enter our prison with intense histories of abuse and trauma, which are then just compounded by the experiences they have in our prison system. And this has nothing to do with the building's disrepair and will perpetuate in a new facility. And just to uplift some of our sisters on the inside, I want to share some testimony from them. One woman said, "I have been retaliated on if I address any issue. I've been placed under investigations, thrown in the hole, ripped from my clothes by staff." And another testimony, "Anytime I've gone to staff asking or screaming for help, it always gets worse. Their resolution is also to see how far they can push you. They gaslight me more than I ever have by a man in a relationship." And not only are prisons traumatic for the people incarcerated in them, but the people that work there as well. UVM conducted a study and found that staff had developed PTSD, anxiety, and other illnesses from their time working in the department. And this is another fact that will not change with the new prison. So just to paint more of a complete picture, Vermont incarcerates around 120 women and people at our one women's prison. Shockingly, nearly half of those folks are simply detained pre-trial, with some not being able to leave prison just because they can't afford bail. And the vast majority of sentenced women are serving sentences that may be short in years, but devastating in impact. And a very important piece of this story is only around 13 people at CRCF even have minimum release dates that extend past 5 years. So this means only around a dozen women currently incarcerated in Vermont will even experience the new prison that is projected to take at least a decade to construct. Rather than spend millions, we should replace the current prison through decarcerative strategies like parole for the elderly, terminally ill, criminalized survivors, and those who have already served draconian sentences. We should expand community-based programs with successful records like Pathways Vermont, Jenna's Promise, and Incentives for Success. For the people that may require a longer-term support and structure, we have a unique opportunity here to create a pilot model for the rest of the country to turn to. This could look like a small treatment-based center or facility with wraparound supports that include behavioral therapy, substance use and mental health treatment, case management, family reunification, job preparation, and more. Mainstream narratives around who is in prison are fueled by fear and ignore the humanity of those on the inside. And it is vital to expose the harsh realities of women's incarceration. Society has failed these women many times before, most often dating back to their childhood, with at least 95% of our women's population having experienced sexual or domestic violence. We must confront and shut off this clear trauma to prison pipeline. Additionally, around 80% of these women are mothers to young children. So this harm is not just limited to the prison walls, but bleeds out to families and their communities. Currently, 2/3 of incarcerated individuals throughout our entire prison system struggle with substance use disorders but lack adequate care. Out of the approximately 1,400 people in Vermont's system, meaning men and women, more than 880 are part of the DOC's mental health caseload. Around 1,000, an overwhelming 88% of the population, live with chronic illness. And this shows that our incarcerated population is incredibly sick and suffering. We cannot continue to entrench resources in prison walls rather than in people who need health care. The lack of robust services in the community leaves prisons as the default solution to systemic gaps in care, which is simply immoral. And lastly, prison construction would be a significant financial burden that will not go away. The annual cost to incarcerate one person is around $95,000, and this number grows for folks who are ill, elderly, or those who are pregnant. In addition, for the fiscal year 2026, the Department of Corrections has asked for yet another budget increase, and they are now at $230 million annually, on top of this $97 million women's prison. And to contrast, incarceration is almost 5 times more expensive than Pathways' supportive housing program and more than 4 times costlier than Vermont's recovery homes. So Vermont is standing at a crossroads, and we must choose to invest in preventative solutions created by and for communities that save our people from the criminal justice system. And remember, in this moment, history has its eyes on us. So thank you for letting me. I appreciate the time to just context set and really share some really important data and statistics that helps us have a clearer picture of why this $97 million women's prison is such a tragic investment of our resources. And with that, we are going to go to our next speaker, Tiffany Harrington, an organizer with Free Her Vermont.
Thanks, Jana. Hi, my name is Tiffany, and I asked myself, why am I here today? Why are we all here today? And the overwhelming reason I came up with in my head is that I cannot stand by idly and watch any more families, any more people, any more members of our state and our community be harmed by incarceration and by its outreaching effects. There are so many negative, detrimental effects of incarceration, not just on the incarcerated people, but on their families, on their community, on their friends. And those impacts last for generations to come. I'm a single mom, and I've given birth to 2 children while incarcerated. And the last time I had my son, who is now 5, he was born, he was a high-risk pregnancy, and like I said, I had him while incarcerated. And it was a really kind of a scary situation because I wasn't being given adequate health care at all. And I was very scared for my health and his health as well. When I did give birth, obviously I went to the hospital for that, but the hospital didn't really want to send me back because I had my blood pressure was rising and I had a history of preeclampsia with my prior pregnancies. But they did send me back to the facility with the agreement that they would check my blood pressure, which is not a big deal, but check it about every 4 hours to make sure it wasn't getting too high. Now, getting a blood pressure check is pretty much the least invasive assessment that somebody can do. I mean, almost anybody can do that, and it's not too serious. You can do it at MedCart, you can do it anytime. And I had 1 blood pressure check, and then nothing for 2 weeks. And during that 2 weeks, I was getting sicker and sicker. I could feel myself getting sicker and sicker. My head felt like it was gonna pop off. I mean, the headache was just ridiculous. I could barely stand up. And I was putting in med slips every day, and I was being ignored by medical staff. And it got to the point where my entire unit started putting in med slips on my behalf. Finally, one of my friends on the unit contacted somebody on the outside at the ACLU and that she knew, and she was able to get a call made into the facility, and next thing you know, there I am in the med room getting my blood pressure checked, and lo and behold, don't you know, it was so bad they would not even let me off the table. Immediately called an ambulance. I started having, almost like having a stroke on the way to the hospital. Coming to find out, I had postpartum eclampsia and literally almost died. And that's just due to negligence. That's due to their lack of caring just to check my blood pressure, which shouldn't be that big of a deal. That's just one example among many, many, many. But that, unfortunately, is the rule, not the exception. For the most part, services are not adequate inside of the prison. And the excuse that it's a trauma-informed prison or a compassionate facility or whatever they want to call it is honestly, for lack of a better term, a load of crap. There is no such thing as that. Anytime you take somebody out of their environment and put them in an extremely restrictive environment, you are creating trauma simply by that action. By taking somebody away from their children, from their job, their homes, all of these things, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're expected to act like that's fine, and then they get out and they have all these extra mental health concerns and problems, and then they're expected to come up with all of the same things they already had before they were incarcerated. So they're expected to come up with their own, you know, their doctors again, and, you know, a place to live, and a job, and all of these things they probably already had. Now they have to start way back and get all those things back and a million things more. So my question is, why is the state of Vermont not only spending an exorbitant amount of money on a facility that is not a solution, instead of pouring money into the community on community-based solutions like we were talking about, like Dana was mentioning, like COSA or Pathways or, you know, whatever. There's many options. Instead of doing that, why is it that we are doing the same thing over and over again that we've done in the past? Why are we restricting people and locking them up? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting different results. In my opinion, this is insanity, because this is something that's happened before, where the state says, okay, we're going to build this new facility and it's going to be so great and everyone's going to be taken care of and it's going to be amazing. And it doesn't. That doesn't happen. And so here we are again, another crossroads, and the state's saying the same thing. Well, we're going to have services and this is a great solution. Let's lock everybody up and give them services. No, let's not lock everybody up and give them services. Let's give them services and not lock them up. You know what I mean? And that's really my whole point, my reason for being here. I just want to raise awareness on how systemically detrimental the whole incarcerative system actually is. Not just on physical health, but mental health, economic security, everything. So instead of doing this, instead of spending a ton of money on this prison, let's invest in other things like education, healthcare, mental health, other options, housing options would be amazing, job training, stuff like that. Let's do that and help people instead of harm people. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany, always speaking truth to power. And next up, we have Miss Lydia Diamond.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Lydia Diamond. I'm a grandma of 7. Yes, I need to brag. I'm a mother of 4. I'm bragging again. I came to the state of Vermont, not on my own, but my mom brought me here, me and my 4 children. I was addicted to crack and knocking on death's door 30 years ago. And to God be the glory, I'm still here. I'm clean. I'm so pumped up early in the morning because I went to jail when I first got here. Like, I got here in 94, I went to jail in 95, 96. When I got out in 97, I never looked back. I had a stroke 10 years ago. And all these memories came back, you know, after a year of trying to become whole again. And one of my memories that I speak frequently about is being formerly incarcerated, because I came here from Brooklyn, New York, but I didn't have a record. I didn't have a criminal record, you know. And my children were 4, 9, 12, and 13 when we got here 30 years ago. Now everybody grown with children of their own, but all 4 of my children are formerly incarcerated too. And it's disgusting. They were children when they came to this state. So my point is, racial harassment is real. Racial profiling is real. And there's no such thing as a trauma-informed anything, especially a prison. Because when I went to Four Seas Prison in South Burlington, Vermont, it was a shithole then. It was falling apart and raggedy and needed some of that 97 million you want to spend to build a new one, which I find outrageous because the pandemic was not that long ago. Yet people want to pretend, or people in positions of power want to pretend we could just, snap back to where we was prior to. But let me tell you, people are still struggling. They still struggling to just maintain, to get through day by day. And they need more resources. Families are struggling with food insecurity. Where's the money for mental health care for our children? Where is it? $97 million? Where is the child care for our children? Where is the Pathways has a peer-to-peer support program, and it's a good thing. Where's the money for that? Because we need more. We need more. And I want Governor Scott to know that when they asked about being popular, they asked the wrong people. Because if they would have asked me, I would have said, it's time for him to retire. There should be limits. Because I'm sick of him too. And now look at his buddies in the White House, the parasite crew. Sick of them. But I didn't come here to tear the governor down. I just want him to know he's full of shit. And we deserve better. A new women's prison? What about a women's community center where we could share information to keep each other safe? Keep our children safe. Group therapy for our children. And not just the little ones, because some of the grown ones need it too. I love Free Her because it wasn't a part of my life when I went to jail, but I see the great need and the resources that Free Her provides. And I absolutely want to prevent any woman from ever going back to prison. I think prison should be torn down and tossed the hell out, right along with that parasite president. I'm sick of all the bullshit we have to go through. We just got the right to vote 100 years ago. We just got the right to get a damn checking account on our own. I mean, some things are just asinine. They backwards. And moving forward, I feel like there's been a war on women, since the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I don't know what y'all smoking, but y'all need to stop it. Because if you ain't got a uterus, shut up. We bring life into this world, and we deserve better. So I'm gonna calm down now.
Thank you.
But thank you for listening. And you'll hear from me again.
Sorry. Thank you, Miss Lydia. And she is a proud matriarch and founder of Brooklyn, the Advocate, and Black Girls Matter Vermont, just to plug that. And next, we're going to hear from Christine Mitchell, the Health Instead of Punishment Program Director at Human Impact Partners.
Thanks. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Christine Mitchell. Like Jana said, I work at Human Impact Partners, and my friend and colleague Renee Bedruzeman's been working closely with Jana on this. So I'm glad to be here. Just to share a little bit more about the public health perspective. So in 2021, the American Public Health Association, which is the largest professional organization of public health professionals in the US, affirmed what incarcerated people have been telling us for decades. Incarceration is immensely harmful to health, and we need to be working towards a world without it. Research is clear that the experience of incarceration is correlated with so many poor health outcomes, including things like early mortality, hypertension, asthma, arthritis, cervical cancer, anxiety, depression, infectious disease, the list goes on. Prisons create trauma, and no design of a newer, nicer building will take away that reality. Prisons, by their very nature, cannot be trauma-informed. Instead, we know that our communities are safer and healthier when the state invests in what we call the social determinants of health, the things we need to survive: housing, healthcare, education, transportation, and not into constructing more prisons and jails. We know that our elders are healthier when they are being cared for out here by the community and not behind bars. We know that substance use treatment is more likely to be successful when it is community-based. We know, and research supports, that incarceration cannot ever be trauma-informed, and that prisons cannot and should not be the primary point of care for our loved ones. This is basic public health. This is an urgent moment in Vermont. We have the opportunity now to pass H456 to interrupt the construction of a $97 million prison and invest that money into community-based infrastructure. Because of the urgency of this moment, my colleague Renee worked with Jana and Free Her to write a letter to the Vermont State Legislature outlining the public health harm that would occur with the construction of a new prison and supporting investment in community-based care instead. Almost 300 people from Vermont and across the country signed on to support this message. This is a movement from coast to coast. We've worked with folks in California, we've worked with folks in Massachusetts, we've worked with folks here in Vermont, all trying to free her and to close women's prisons. So we're here today to demonstrate how much support there is for this work, locally and nationally. We're here to tell the legislature, pass H456, free her, and free them all.
Thank you so much, Christine. It has just been an honor to work with you and Renee, and yes, just thank you for all that you do for the movement. And our next speaker, Representative Brian China, State Representative and Licensed Clinical Social Worker. Woo!
So, why are we building a prison for 200 people while we have over 1,000 people being kicked out of the streets from motels in 2 weeks? And why are we building a prison if we can't afford to continue to provide all children free school meals, you know? Why are we building another expensive prison if we can't afford to provide health care to everyone? And Blue Cross Blue Shield's about to go out of business and Medicaid's being cut. What are the priorities at this time in history of our society? It's concerning to me that so many people are interested in expanding incarceration at the same time that we see on the federal government the reinstitution of the death penalty. And we see, talk of rounding people up and sending people away and locking people up. I wish that in Vermont, we heard different words from our governor at this time, and that we heard a governor saying that we should be freeing people, not incarcerating people more, and that we should be housing people and not evicting them. But unfortunately, we see that a lot of our governor's playbook aligns with that of the president. And so, considering that, I think we need to speak the truth about that and hold him accountable. And we can hold him accountable the way that we all should be held accountable, with care. That we live in a society where too often when people make a mistake, they get shamed, banished, thrown away, punished, tortured, and no one deserves that. Even the governor doesn't deserve that. So he does not need to be locked up or shamed or thrown away. We need to hold him accountable, ask him to act differently, to stand up to the president, and we can do that with love and with care. But in turn, what I ask of him, and I think what we all ask, is let's give everyone that care. That when someone is struggling with addiction and they make choices that harm others, we don't just lock them up and then throw them out on the street again so that they do it more, and then lock them up and throw them out on the street again. The community needs to wrap each other in care. We can stop each other from harming others, but then we need to, but we don't do that, but we do it by locking people up and then not giving them care. We can do it in a way by providing people with housing, a place to be, and wrap them in support and in love and in options. Do you want job training? Do you want medication-assisted treatment? Do you want psychedelic-assisted treatment? Do you want to do contingency management treatment? Do you want talk therapy? Do you need family therapy? Do your children need therapy? What kind of housing do your kids need? What kind of special needs do you have that need to be met so that you can maintain your housing? This is not what we do currently for everyone. There are programs in existence that are doing this good work in Vermont. And if you look at our opioid abatement settlement fund, there's a lot of investments from the money that we're getting from the opioid companies that's going into these good things. And so H456, the piece of legislation that I worked on with Free Her this session, is very similar to the opioid settlement abatement fund bill, whatever it's called. It asks the state to invest money into a continuum of care that provides people with health care, with job training and workforce training, skills training, a variety of housing, supportive housing. So if we can do that kind of investment with the opioid settlement fund, then why not do it with H456? Why not look at reinvesting money from the system of incarceration into a system of community care? And so that's really the spirit of this bill. And so I'll stop there. I didn't have anything prepared, so I'm just kind of, so I don't want to be too redundant, and I want to make time for others, but thank you all for coming today. So I'll be standing over there.
Thank you so much, Representative China. And just to uplift him, he has been our champion in the State House, one of the only legislators unapologetically willing to challenge this prison project. And he deserves all our support and care because it has been a very isolating process being outspoken about this. So just want to uplift you. And our next speaker, very beloved community member, Neela Ravinsky, Mad Freedom Advocacy and Education Coordinator.
Hi everyone. I'm I'm a little short. My name is Neela. I'm here with Mad Freedom Advocates, a grassroots human rights organization led by and for psychiatric survivors, mad folks, and others that have been marginalized by the mental health system. I want to thank Free Her for all the incredible work they do and for inviting us to this crucial press conference and allowing us to share our perspective on why we believe there's no such thing as a trauma-informed prison and why these funds should be reallocated to community-based supports. This issue is personal to me. When I was 16, after enduring trauma and hardships, I struggled with my mental health. Instead of being met with curiosity around what was happening for me, I was labeled in need of fixing and sent to an involuntary psychiatric facility. For the next 2 years, 2 months, and 4 days, I was subjected to daily abuses such as improper painful restraints, forced medication, isolation, and conversion therapy, all under the guise of care. From this firsthand experience, I can tell you that whether it's framed as treatment or as punishment, being behind locked doors with no autonomy is always traumatic. I understand the concerns about the conditions at the Chittenden Regional Correctional Facility, and I share those concerns. I have these same concerns for the abuses happening in involuntary psych institutions in this state right now as well. But when you listen to those with lived experience, you'll hear that building bigger and so-called better facilities is not the solution many of us want. If we simply build new facilities every time we discover harm, we'll find ourselves right back in here in this very room 10 years from now, still having the same conversations and still replicating the same systems of harm. Historically, mental health labels have been used as tools of control to disappear those we've deemed less worthy or expendable. For example, individuals escaping slavery were diagnosed with drapetomania and locked in institutions, a fabricated disorder to pathologize the desire for freedom. This is still happening today. Last week, shortly after Mahmoud Khalil was locked up in a detention facility for exercising his right to political protest, legislators in Minnesota introduced a bill to add Trump derangement syndrome as a diagnosis for an onset of paranoia in otherwise normal persons in reaction to policies of Donald Trump. By pathologizing these individuals and placing blame in individual actions, beliefs, political beliefs, identities, and behaviors, we ignore broader systemic issues, which is just unjust. We have a chance to do things differently in Vermont. We can make this state an example for others to follow. Let's stop continuing these cycles of harm. Let's redefine safety and care and invest in community-based public health solutions like housing, non-carceral health care, and education. Let's invest in real trauma-informed spaces like peer support services, peer respites, support lines that do not engage in contact tracing, mental health urgent cares, soteria houses, and other spaces that do not automatically resort to isolating community members and locking people away. The people of Vermont deserve better than more cages. I do not feel safer with another prison, and I know I'm not alone. I don't feel safer knowing myself or those I love could end up confined, isolated, or mistreated simply for trying to survive increasingly unsurvivable conditions. That's not safety, it's punishment, and it doesn't work. We need systems that embrace people rather than punish them. To the legislators in this room, you have the power to make that change possible. So I ask you to create a Vermont where no one has to endure the trauma that I and so many others have faced. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neela. And I just always have to shout this out, but it's very important that Neela is always here, because as we talk about what the future looks like without prisons, her and Mad Freedom Advocates reminds us that we can easily replicate this system in institutions like mental health care. So just thank you so much for your work and your openness to share your story. Okay, and our next speaker, Leslie Thorson. She's a registered nurse and organizer with Vermont Just Justice.
Good morning, everyone. I am Leslie Thorson. I've been a nurse since almost the last ice age. I'm a mom, and I have a Master's of Restorative Justice. I'd like to thank Free Her and all the voices that came out here today to speak for those voices that have been silenced. So what I have to say is, if we build it, they will come. This morning as we speak, the state of Vermont has 63 sentenced women, all living in cages. Our state wants to spend $97 million of our hard-earned tax money to build 185 new cages, 3 times the amount of the women sentenced today. This casting of a larger net to incarceration is in keeping with a shameful statistic. From 1980 to 2014, our country has increased incarceration by 220%. Per capita, the United States locks up more people than any other industrialized country in the world. What if I told you that 25% of incarcerated women were themselves victims of some form of sexual, physical, or emotional abuse? We are not asking what happened to you. How can we help you? Instead, we are offering a punishment that is not evidence-based and has no associated benefit. Caging humans plays no role in eliminating abuse against women, decreasing drug abuse in the community, or creating solutions to mental health diseases. It was estimated in 2014 that 44% of our incarcerated individuals have a mental health diagnosis. Why is mental health responded to by a police car versus a police-embedded social worker? Why don't we have emergency rooms specifically for mental health crises? Why are mental health conditions the key that opens the locked door to incarceration? This should not be. What we do know about incarceration is that for every year inside a jail, an individual is sacrificing 2 years of their lifespan. Where in the law does it say that when we come for your freedom, we're also coming for your health? Once inside, the health care is abysmal. Currently, the state of Vermont pays $38 million a year willingly pays $38 million a year to a for-profit healthcare provider. This past January, the Commissioner of the Department of Corrections reported to the House of Representatives Corrections and Institutions Committee that in 2024, we had over 600 emergency room visits. What do we know about these admissions? Nothing. We know nothing. But I can tell you what I know about these admissions. They are documented evidence of failed incarcerative health care. It is time to begin the process of abolishment. We can start by getting the 58 detained women their day in court. We can start by not building more human cages. We can start by using the projected $97 million for statewide community resources and services that do work. This is not a mystery. I am asking that all Vermonters call their legislators and say no to a $97 million prison. Tell your representative what we need is funding to keep people in their communities, not in cages. If we build evidence-based community support services, they will come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie. And our last speakers for this morning will be Amy Lester from the Vermont Workers Center. And Denise Walton. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Amy Lester.
Denise Walton.
This is Denise Walton. And we're active members with the Vermont Worker Center and the Nonviolent Medicaid Army. We're comprised of healthcare workers, construction workers, writers, artists, folks on disability, retirees. Be good if I put the glasses on. Unemployed and underemployed, clergy and folks just like you and me. We are among the poor, and we know that the conditions of poverty lead to incarceration. We need to lift each other up as we face massive cuts from the federal government on our most vulnerable and not house them in prisons. The Nonviolent Medicaid Army Organization of the Poor fights on the front of healthcare, and this includes everyone affected by the healthcare crisis.
I'm Denise Walton. I'm here today to advocate for hope, not handcuffs. My own experience has not led to incarceration, but could have, just like anyone in this room. I do know several women in the St. Johnsbury community that were incarcerated, though, and I've seen these women take back their lives with hard work, dedication, community partners, resources, training, mandatory or self-initiated. I've seen them get their full jobs, get full-time jobs, reunification with their families, with their children, and go on to be peer coach others facing similar experiences. I have seen how these programs can help women and others get their life back. I advocate for a more humanistic approach to women with criminal patterns and histories and traumas by sharing about their lives and relearning ways to lift up and out of poverty, addiction, mental health, crisis, homelessness, etc. We need hope, not handcuffs or jails, to help an already fragile population of folks and ladies. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Denise. And I would just like to end by saying that our healthcare and housing crisis rises. As it rises, we must resist the warehousing of Vermonters into prisons. We demand community services that treat the needs of our people, which include mental health services, substance abuse treatment, and healthcare for all parts of our body. Can we talk about our teeth, our brains? So thank you so much for Free Her for gathering us today. And we say yes to universal health care, we say yes to community services, and we say no to the proposed women's prison. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been such an incredible morning, and I'm just really grateful for all the allies and advocates in the room. And as we conclude, I just want to reiterate our core demands and our vision for Vermont's future. So first, we are calling for an immediate stop to the $97 million women's prison project, the decarceration of CRCF, the women's prison, and a shift toward community-based solutions that address the root causes of incarceration. The passing of H.456 can be a very important first step to do this. And second, Vermont must invest in mental health and substance use treatment, supportive housing, and restorative justice programs. These are proven, compassionate, and cost-effective alternatives to incarceration. And third, we are calling for a transformation. We envision a Vermont where justice means healing, not punishment, and where resources uplift communities rather than reinforce systems of confinement. So to everyone listening here today, we encourage you to dream and imagine a world with us beyond prisons and invite you to take action. Reach out to your legislators and urge them to oppose the prison project and support H.456, and join the movement by supporting our incarcerated friends and family through our canteen fund, contacting decision makers to oppose the prison, attending our meetings and events, and overall amplifying the steady drumbeat we are building in Vermont. Thank you all for your continued support and for standing with us in this fight for justice. The power to create meaningful change starts here with all of us, and we can make this vision a reality together. Thank you. And we will open the room for Q&A. If anyone has any questions they'd like to ask, feel free to. Or you can email if you're feeling a little shy. But we'll just wait here. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you all so much for being here and sharing your stories, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can you address what the current status is of the construction money and the possibility of building somewhere?
Yes, so right now, and everyone else, feel free to chime in if I'm getting anything or missing anything, but we have put aside $15 million so far for this prison project. So like as Representative Brian Chino was saying, like we are literally kicking people out of this motel program while $15 million sits in a bank account awaiting this prison construction. And they have not allocated money for this year or next year, but they will be coming back to us with a 10-year plan in 2028. And right now, the Department of Corrections is in Essex trying to get a zoning request change because the 2 sites they're looking at for the replacement women's prison are sited in Essex right now, but it's not currently zoned for new prisons. So currently the Essex Planning Commission is hearing public comment from community members and having hearings with the Department of Corrections, and they should decide whether to pass that to the Essex Select Board within a couple months. Thank you. Anybody else?
So what do we do in this process?
Yes, so as we said, please reach out to your legislators and tell them that this is not the best way to be spending Vermont dollars and to support H456. We also encourage folks to reach out to Essex officials, organizers, any folks they know, just to alert them about what's going on. And we do have template email language and can help folks and walk you through those communications if needed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Count me in.
Can we just take a moment to acknowledge the governor getting a raise too?
Wow. Yeah. Please do.
Just something else I think people need to know that's not being talked about is that in the last year's budget, the governor and his staff got a 6.4% raise. In the same year, they recommended 0% for frontline healthcare workers. And they're slated to get a 5.5% raise again this year. Over $2 million of our tax money going to raises for them. And yet they say we need to tighten the belt. So I just want to, I know it's in addition to this issue, but just Jana's point about money being squirreled away for a prison, where we're giving raises to the people at the top of the executive branch while kicking people out of motels too, which is only going to put more people in prison. I see a hand. I don't know if you want to take it back over. Oh,
Okay,
God.
so maybe stay.
Well, there was a hand back there first.
I was just gonna say, ask if there's a central location for us to look at these numbers, because they're not, a lot of people aren't informed about the budget that you're speaking of, your raises. It's kind of, what I've heard is people complaining about overspending taxpayer dollars, and I'm just wondering if there's a place you can point people to go to get the truth of the spending.
There's no one place you can go that I'm aware of and find information like simply.
I would say our website might be a good start. So it's a little long, but it's thecouncil.us/Vermont. And we also have these kits. We're hoping more legislators would show up, like community members, please feel free to grab these. We have a list here of key data and statistics that we discussed today. So just for you and your own communication, share this with folks.
I think
And we
people just
also
go in.
can electronically email for folks if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should.
You had a hand, right?
So my question is, what other representatives are supporting this bill?
Well, the bill itself, we've got Christie and Cole, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember who else, but we got the bill the day it was due. So I wouldn't judge everyone because of based on that, because we had very little time to get co-sponsors this year. But I'm looking it up to say who's on it because I don't remember. I know Christie and Cole are. Is it just us three?
I appreciate your work on
Yeah.
it, and I would also want to just,
Did you get any support from the senators?
It's a House bill, so I didn't ask them.
Okay. Ooh.
But Jana can reach out, you know. and see if we can get some.
There hasn't been much traction on the Senate side, unfortunately. You know, I think this is just an issue people don't want to touch until there's more narratives that kind of like uplift what we're saying here, which is unfortunate. Like, people are sympathetic and do reform efforts, but no one is explicitly like, let's get rid of it, like Representative Chino.
What do you think? Should we have a prison? Like, he's gonna run. He's gonna run.
As long as it's not private.
Oh.
He's in the wrong room.
At least he doesn't want a private one.
You can learn more. Grab a press pack.
Nice, Christine.
Yeah, so while you're all here, though, it might be, if you have time, it might be good to try to find your representatives or talk to some. And you know, where people get busy, and so I you know, you might, if you try to stop me, sometimes I'm like rushing away. It's not that I don't want to talk, it's that we have meetings. But like, the lunch is coming soon, so there's a good hour of people sitting around. So I don't know if you can stick around that long. There's also an outright press conference, and there's been a lot of anti-trans stuff going on. So if you're around, if you want to support that, you can come back here before lunch. But while you're here, if you have a chance, you can talk with representatives about it. I think most representatives want what's best for people and don't fully understand that there's another way.
Yes.
And I didn't even fully understand. I was looking at Norway as a model, and then Free Her and the National Council said, that's not good enough, we can't have prisons. And I said, well, what are we going to do when people are causing harm to others and they need to be secured? Because that is the truth. There are people who are hurting themselves or others, and we need to keep them safe, secure them in some way. But that got me thinking, well, what do we do when they're not committing a crime? Right. Secure residential, psychiatric hospitals, and they're not ideal situations. But looking at that helped me realize that there could be ways that we have maximum freedom or maximum flexibility about a person's ability to move around, and reserve secure options for the least safe situations. Like if someone's like at imminent risk of killing others, yes, in my opinion, we may need to keep them somewhere. If you disagree, I don't know what you suggest we do. Like let people run around and kill other people, you know? Like we need a place that's secure for some people. But should we lock someone up for robbing a store? You know, should we lock someone up for, what's that?
Addiction. Yeah.
More treatment centers.
Should we lock someone up for having addiction, struggling with housing, struggling with money, and doing non-violent things? No.
Should we incarcerate people for survival behaviors because of poverty? No, exactly. And so Free Her saying, you know, we don't want prisons helped me think, oh, we don't need prisons. Secure residential can be an apartment that's safe, where a person is kept if they're unsafe. Like why does it have to be a cage? You know, I think that's really what it came down to, is like prisons are cages. Why does it have to be a cage if we need to keep someone safe? Most legislators are not there yet. And I hope you can understand why. The question is gonna be, what do you do with someone when they kill people? What do you do with someone when they're attacking people? You know, but I think the answer is not a cage. It can be a simple room with a nice, an example would be River Valley Residence in Essex, the secure residential facility. You know, it's built to be safe, so if someone is at risk of hurting themselves, things are rounded and smooth. There's no objects they can tie around themselves or hurt themselves with, but it's humane. It's like a dorm room that they stay in, you know, not a cage. And so I think similarly, if a person needed to be restrained, I don't know what the word is, because kept safe, secured, it can be done in a humane way. But anyway, a lot of legislators don't understand, can't even fathom it yet. So just talking with them more about how we wouldn't even need so many places for people to be like that if we actually had housing, you know, et cetera. Because how many people are locked up who just need housing? So.
And I love the connection with mental health, being another way to hurt people.
Any other questions before we conclude? Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone. This has been such a powerful morning, and we have business cards over there, pamphlets. Please reach out to continue these conversations, and if you need any support in your own advocacy efforts, and let's move forward towards freedom together. Thank you.